Looks like we're good.
Almost.
Okay.
Almost. Yes, we're ready.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is March 9th. It's 5:34. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Paul Sawyer Public Library Board of Trustees. We'll call the meeting to order and ask Carolyn to record attendance, please. The first thing we'll do, you all got a copy of all of our board reports. Take a look at the agenda. I will, I'd ask, we've got the presentation of our annual audit on tonight's agenda. So if you all don't object, let's move that from the new business up to after I don't have the agenda in front of me, but anyway, after we do the minutes and before we do the treasurer's report, if that's all right with you all, I will entertain a motion to amend the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you all. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So let's look at the minutes. Take a minute if you haven't already. And when you all are ready, I'll look for a motion to approve them as written, or if you have any edits, let us know.
I move we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Thank you all. Any questions, comments, last minute discussion on the minutes? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Great. Okay. Mr. McClavick?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. I don't know if we need to record this, but I'm going to hand the presidential duties. I'm not going to leave the meeting, but I'm going to hand the presidential duties over to our Vice President, Maria Bartholomew, for logistical reasons on my end. So Maria, here are the reins, and Greg, take it from here.
All right. Pleasure to be here with you all. You all have the audit in front of you. Won't take up too much time. The main thing in the report is that we've issued a clean opinion, unmodified, and I'll go through a few of the numbers, but I want to talk about what's in the report. The second page of the third page of the PDF, second page of the report really is the independent auditor's report. Basically a bunch of run-on sentences that accountants use to say that there's a clean opinion. The next section is the management's discussion and analysis. Basically what a person is supposed to be able to do is to read this information and not have to look at the rest of the report. This is a summation of financial highlights, what to expect in the future, and what are the numbers that are in the rest of the report. So you all can read that if you ever have any questions. Again, that's just a summation of all the numbers. What I really want to do is get to, if you have your PDF in front of you, I want you to go to the PDF is page 13, page 11 in the report. And basically what this is the balance sheet. It's going to show, what cash you have. This is reporting as a government. The asset of the building itself is not in this report, or is not in this financial statement on this page. At June 30, 2020, your total assets were $1.6 million. That's basically all cash, few prepaid expenses. You had some accounts payable and vacation time, total liabilities, 193,764. And then you had fund balances that were made about 1.4 million. And you see the restricted 10,000. That's basically an endowment. And assigned funds, that's prepaid expenses that'll be used in the future. And then unassigned, which is basically the same thing as unrestricted, is about 1.36 million. The next page, or excuse me, go 2 pages. This is your income statement. This does not have depreciation. This is basically what you look at almost every meeting. It's basically cash in and cash out with the exception of some payables in there. Your total revenues for the year were 3.5 million and your total expenditures were 3 million. Your property taxes basically usually stay the same every year, give or take. You always like your investment earnings to be up. You all are just basically in some CDs and some non-risky, which that's all you're allowed to do. You have intergovernmental, which is some grants, about 42,000, and the rest of those are including contributions. Those are things that are basically operations of the library. When you go down to expenditures, your personnel, that's all your salaries and retirement and health insurance and things like that, fringe benefits and payroll taxes. Obviously, that's your biggest one. And the next thing you go down is your collection expense and occupancy cost for the building. You had a little capital outlay, 128,000. So you had a net change in fund balances of 503,000, which is always good. Luckily, you all are even with being closed for quite about 3 months. Obviously, property taxes still come in, but your operations were down because of being closed for a little bit. So that's why your net income is a little higher probably than normal. I'll go back to page, and I'll tell you why I'm going back. If you go back to page 11 of the PDF and page 9 of the report, the reason there are 2 kind of sets of financial statements is because of GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board requires you to do this. And this statement right here is if you're a business. So you're going to see your capital assets, look under your non-current assets. You have land, not the value, but what it costs you, 344,000. And then other capital assets, which is your building, computers, furniture, net of accumulated depreciation of 13,765,000. So your total assets are about $15.7 million. The deferred outflows and the long-term liabilities down there, the unfunded pension and the deferred inflows all relate to the unfunded pension at CERS. The unfunded pension liability is $3,156,000, and the net OPEB is basically the health insurance that's unfunded. So your total debt that accountants require you to report is about $4 million. That's not something that you're going to have to pay back right now. The only thing that you really need to worry about this is what the contribution rate is that CERS makes you pay every year. That's what affects your budget. So the unfunded pension and net OPEB can go up or down depending on how the investments do out of CERS, which is something that you can't control. I don't usually like to present this one or go in detail on this one just because this one has the unfunded liabilities on there that you really don't have any control over. And then the next page is the income statement, which this thing has depreciation in it, which again, that's not cash, so you don't really have to worry about that. So the rest of the report, again, you can read the management's discussion analysis to get what the rest of the information is. I know this is a 44-page document and anybody can have questions. I'm sure you all committed it to memory like I have. But if you ever have any questions on this, Be glad to talk about this. Again, I don't make many adjustments anymore. Valerie does a great job, and I want to thank her for her assistance on this. It certainly has made my job easier the last 2 years, and she's done a great job in getting us information. So that's about all I have, unless somebody has some questions.
Well, if no one has any questions, I don't know if Natalie turned this over to me. I guess I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, I guess we'll move on to the treasurer's report, Bob.
Let's vote. Let's vote
Oh,
on
I'm
it.
sorry. Sorry. All say aye.
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 Aye. All right, sorry, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, treasurer's report.
Okay. I keep cutting in and out here, so if I disappear, I don't know what it is, a connection or what, but anyway.
Me too.
The report here, the one that was sent out this afternoon is what I'm looking at. It was pretty close to the one that was sent out before. The operating account at the top of the document, the checkbook balance at the beginning of February, $843,440.60. I had deposits in February of a little over $210,000, which I presume was probably most property tax. Checks written a little over $404,000. So at the end of February, the balance in the operating account was $649,833.14. Below that, the report details other accounts. We have the savings account, which at the end of the month was right at $2 million even, plus a little interest that had accrued there. And then we have the other accounts below that, including our First Financial Bank CD. Add all that up, we have, as at the end of February, $2,792,796.28. And this report also shows we have the line of credit, which is there's a zero balance on that now. So after the end of the month, there were no deposits. And then the other activity after the end of February is detailed, which includes checks which still need to, the present balance plus checks that still need to clear. And then the estimated payroll expenses, health insurance, et cetera. So even at the end of March, it's estimated that we'll have a little over $380,000 in the operating account. So we probably won't have to transfer anything anytime soon from the savings account. So that details the activity. There's a revenue and expenditure report, which is attached. And our revenue after receipt of most of the property tax is right at 97% of the fiscal year's budget. So that's good. And actually the real property tax is above budget at 101%. And it shows the expenditure categories too. And then there's the statistics report, the monthly credit card summary, and the detailed list of the checks to be signed. I believe that's all I have. Unless Jean or Valerie have anything to add?
Nope.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
This is Natalie. I'll make the motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Thank you.
Mary Lynn, did you second?
Oh, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, the treasurer's report is approved. We'll move on to the director's report.
Okay, you should have the copy that I sent to you. I won't go into a lot of detail about it, but I included a set of new statistics about our YouTube use, which is kind of interesting. So we'll see where that goes. That will be included in the report from now on, but we can't use that as a statistic for the annual report because YouTube can be accessed anytime. And it's not really, we're not presenting on YouTube, so it's not considered a program. But it does say that people are looking at our content, which is really interesting. So I think they may not be walking in the door, but they are still using the library in ways that we wouldn't have anticipated maybe a year ago. So I see that as a really positive thing. Two things that we will want to do within the next month is have a personnel committee meeting to talk about our mask mandate going forward, whether we need to do that with the governor's guidelines, and then how we will handle the staff and vaccination records. We are allowed to know whether our staff have been vaccinated, and the manner that we do that, it will be something that we'll have to figure out. We can't ask for medical information. We can only ask if they have been vaccinated. And the reason for doing that is really more to be able to communicate with some of our clients or our customers, whether if we have staff who are presenting to a small group or children, they may want to know whether our staff members or the people who are presenting have been vaccinated. And then we can either plan for that if they have chosen not to be vaccinated, or we would know that they have been. So that's all we really need to know, whether they have or have not. And there are pretty strict guidelines that we would have to follow to comply with that. So we need to talk about that and set up that policy going forward. So I would want to have the personnel committee meet to address that so that we can put something in for the next meeting in April. And then the other part is the E-rate that we are applying for this year, which will ultimately be a nice benefit for us, but it is a new process. And it's been a difficult one, I have to say. There's a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot. And one of the things that we have to do is have an internet use policy that complies with guidelines for getting the E-rate. And it's really just a matter of formalizing what we already have, and then maybe putting some wording in that specifically tells people what they can do if they want to visit a site that is blocked by our filtering software. So it's not doing anything different than we do right now. It's just a matter of formalizing it. So Rob is working on his revisions for the policy, looking at what other libraries who use the E-rate, what they have done. So he will want to get together with the technology committee before the next meeting. So those are the two things that we'll need to do. I don't know if you all have seen the library. I've got a chance to see what happened with the flooding. That was pretty exciting. We fared very well, and we have good visual representation for future events. So we won't be wondering what will happen if we reach a certain stage. So that's a good thing. It was quite a learning experience for some of us newbies. So, but we look back to normal now. It's really quite wonderful that we didn't have any infiltration, and that the Friends were able to take precautions, and that they didn't lose any material, and that actually we're hoping that they can make some money this week by getting some of the boxes out of the river room, and that will also make it easier to move the things back into the garage that don't sell. So that's it in a nutshell, unless you have questions about the report that I would be happy to answer.
how do things look, traffic wise since you've increased the hours?
We're thinking that people are finally getting the idea that we're open again. So we're seeing really more people in the building all the time. That was one thing that the flood did for us, that people came down to see the floodwaters and they said, "Oh, you're open." And they told the staff that. So we heard it straight from the customers coming in the building. So I do think that was a benefit of the flooding for us, kind of an odd one.
Upside to the flood.
Yeah. Certainly wouldn't have chosen that way to get more people in the building, but it seemed to work out that way. So we are seeing more and more people in the building. And I almost forgot, I didn't mention in the report, I'm sorry for the oversight. I don't know if you've noticed that we have lockers downstairs in what we call the underpass. And we are getting ready to start using those for curbside pickup so that we won't have to have people call and come and pick up their stuff. They will be emailed when their holds are ready, and they'll be given a code to punch into the locker where they pick their materials up, so they can really come and pick it up at any time. It will not be dependent on when we're open or when they call to make those things. So we're excited about being able to offer that, and it might be a pilot program for a deposit collect elsewhere around the city eventually. But for now, we're hoping to launch that within the next week or so. So the staff have all been trained. We're getting the signage and the explanation of what the process will be like. But that's also an interesting and good thing that's come out of the COVID shutdown, that we used some of the grant money that we received from Kentucky Humanities to purchase these lockers. And now we're finally able to get them functioning. So
That's awesome, Jean.
thank you.
Mary Lynn, you're muted.
I just want to add, that is something I have been wanting us to explore for a long time. So I was very excited to see those lockers down there, and I'm glad they didn't get in the flood. So
We were too. Yes.
Yeah, it's very customer friendly. I really like it.
So we're excited to implement that, and it'll be a good test program for maybe putting them elsewhere. So
yeah.
All right. Okay. Do we need a motion to approve the director's report? No.
I don't think we do that.
No. Okay. All right. All right. So then, I'm sorry, Mary Lynn, what did you say? I'm coming in broken. No.
I just said that we don't normally approve the director's report.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to committee reports. Are there any committees that have met since our last meeting that would like to report? And I've noted that the technology committee, Jane, will have to meet before our next meeting, so I'll get that together. All right, there's no committee reports. We took care of new business. Is there any old business? Oh, I don't think so. All right, I guess we move for an adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. And I'll see everyone next board meeting, April 13th, 2021 at 5:30. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Good job.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Jean,
Yes.
you can turn off the recording.